What is going on, y'all? This is Pay Me in Dividends, and today is June 27th, 2025. Now, welcome to the channel. If you're new to the channel, I talk about dividend investments, income investments that generate passive income through the stock market. Today is going to be a bit different because I think I figured out strategy. All right, I think I figured it out. My conviction for Bitcoin seems to increase every day with the more research I do. So we're going to start off on Strategy's website, and I want to show you guys these preferred shares to really explain what it is they're doing. And it's kind of mind-blowing when you really break it down. All right, so here we have their preferred shares. All right, so they have Strife, they have Strike, and then their newest one, Stride. Now you'll notice on the website it is in order of risk level, meaning that let's say MicroStrategy or Strategy were to get liquidated as a company, the investors of the preferred shares in Strife would be paid out first, and then Strike, and then so on and so forth, with the actual equity stock MicroStrategy being the most risky. However, you get the most upside, and the way that these things work is pretty much what Strategy did is they created these products, right? These preferred shares in order to rake in a bunch of capital so that they can buy more Bitcoin. And in exchange, what they do is, they give a yield. They give a dividend yield to these preferred shares. So you'll see Strife has a 10% dividend yield. That is a perpetual dividend yield. You'll see that Strife has a 8% yield, and Stride has a 10% dividend yield. And then obviously MicroStrategy, the stock itself, does not have a yield, but it has the most upside potential. All right, so what they did again is they are raking in tons and tons of cash in order to buy more Bitcoin. And I want to show you guys exactly, because I don't think people realize how big of a leader Strategy is as far as corporate holdings. Obviously, there are some nations that have more holdings, like the U.S. government, the Chinese government, so on and so forth. But when it comes to corporate holdings, companies, just individual private companies that hold Bitcoin, Strategy is number one, and it's not even close. All right, so we're going to go here to SaylorTracker.com. We can see that they currently hold 592,000 Bitcoin. All right, I'm going to show you guys who's in second place. Mara, MARA, is in second place. All right, and they hold 46,000 Bitcoin. Again, they are in second place with 46,000 Bitcoin, whereas Strategy holds 592,000 Bitcoin. And in third place is Metaplanet, or they're somewhere around there. They're like in the top 5 or something, maybe top 10, and they hold 12,000 Bitcoin. Now, I just want you guys to think about that for a moment, because remember, not too long ago, Metaplanet was in the news. There was a lot of articles saying that they were going to be the new MicroStrategy. They were going to take over MicroStrategy, all these things. And the reality is, I like to just be objective and look at the facts. They hold 12,000 Bitcoin, which is still amazing, right? That's still a ton of money in Bitcoin, but that is nothing compared to 592,000 Bitcoins, all right? Now, also, the way Strategy has set this up is they've been very strategic about this, hence the name, all right? They've set up different products to rake in capital. Now, this isn't just normal. These aren't just normal. The way they played it is so interesting because they are marketing to all types of investors, even people with a lot of skepticism in Bitcoin. And so what they did is they basically took Bitcoin, they wrapped it in these preferred share products, And they kind of put the medicine in the candy for people who are still skeptical, and said, hey, listen, you can buy shares of these, you can buy, put your money into these preferred shares. If things go, if we get liquidated, you'll be the first ones to get paid back, before the actual MicroStrategy shareholders. And you will receive a dividend in perpetuity as you hold these preferred shares. So a lot of these people who are holding these shares are either institutional investors or retail investors that are still unsure about strategy pretty much, right, or Bitcoin itself, but they were still able to draw interest from people who are on the fence, all right? And then people who actually believe in Bitcoin obviously buy Bitcoin directly or buy MicroStrategy stock itself. So it's just very, very interesting how they set this up in a very strategic way to, generate a lot of capital so that they can continue buying Bitcoin and just leverage that capital in the bond market pretty much. All right. Now, a couple other things I want to show you guys is let's look at the compound annual growth rate compared to traditional assets. All right. So we have Bitcoin 1 year performance plus 78, right? S&P plus 12. Now this chart may be a bit outdated, but again, it's the compound annual growth rate. All right. So if you look at this chart, Bitcoin outperforms every traditional asset by miles. All right. You can just look at this chart yourself. It's crazy. Now, another thing I want to show you guys is, so the U.S. Director of Federal Housing just basically announced that they ordered Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, right, to prepare their businesses to count cryptocurrency as an asset for a mortgage. Now, why is this important? This is important because when you see that the government is approving these types of things, that means that it's real, that it's considered a real asset, and that it'll be here moving into the future. Now, I know a lot of people don't want the government involved with their finances, and I completely understand that. But at the same time, when you see the government getting involved and making policies around it, and having regulations around it, that means that it's here to stay, right? There's more investor interest. Governments are getting involved, and so it is not a fluke. It is going to be around for a while, right? And I even found a website here. It's called Milo, and they actually give out mortgages that are 100% financed through either Bitcoin or Ethereum. I didn't do too much research onto the website, but it does look pretty interesting. But yeah, so there's companies out here actually offering mortgages where you can use your Bitcoin or Ethereum as collateral for that mortgage. All right, another thing I want to show you guys is IBIT. All right, IBIT was the first spot Bitcoin ETF to be approved on the U.S. stock market. And, this is from BlackRock, right? One of the biggest financial institutions in the world. IBIT has been around since January of 2024, has over $70 billion in assets under management. And so the reason I'm showing you guys this thing is to show you that there is so much trust, so much investor trust on the retail side, on the institutional side. And so this is here to stay. And again, the more research I do on it, the more I see that strategy, man, if Bitcoin continues to perform on average over the next 20, 30, 40 years, with 20, 30, 50% gains on average every year, obviously there's going to be ebbs and flows in the market. Some years may be negative returns. Some years may have exponential returns. But on average, if Bitcoin is able to continue doing what it's done historically, strategy is going to be worth trillions of dollars. With the amount of Bitcoin that they hold, they are going to be worth so much money. And so again, my conviction in Bitcoin grows each and every day. And, by extension, my conviction and strategy grows as well. And this is also why MSTY from YieldMax, MSTY, is one of my favorite ETFs, because it's a derivative of MicroStrategy and the volatility of MicroStrategy. And, they generate, a high dividend off of those option premiums in the market based off of MicroStrategy's volatility. Now, recently, MicroStrategy's volatility has gone down a bit, but I do think it'll crank back up in the future. But even now, the volatility is still high enough for them to pay out some really, really good dividends on a monthly basis. So I don't want to talk about MSTY too much in this video, but the point is that strategy has found a way to take themselves from a company that was pretty much struggling in the early to mid 2000s. Most of their competitors, if you listen to Michael Saylor talk, he'll explain that most of his competitors were light years ahead of him. And really, he had to sit down and figure out a way to be competitive in the market. And when he finally began to buy into Bitcoin, that is when the company's balance sheet exploded. And again, when you just look at the amount of holdings they have in Bitcoin, 592,000, with the second company behind them being, holding less than 50,000 Bitcoins, it just shows how ahead of the game they are. And if you're invested into MicroStrategy, Bitcoin, or even one of these derivatives, I think long term you are going to do very, very well. Your portfolio is going to perform extremely well. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about MicroStrategy a little bit. I think they're getting a lot more visibility on the market because of their aggressive acquisition of Bitcoin and all of the derivative ETFs that have came out thus far that are, capitalizing on the volatility of MicroStrategy in order to generate that option premium and pay out these huge dividend yields. It is just absolutely insane, and there's so many people taking advantage of it, and I think it is great, and people are really going to benefit off of it. So you guys let me know in the comments, what do you think about MicroStrategy or strategy, and what ETF derivatives are you invested in that kind of have a correlation with strategy or Bitcoin? You guys let me know in the comments. As always, I appreciate you stopping by the channel, and I will catch you in the next video.